It is time for the weekly roundup presented by the Conversation Project. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, your host for this show and most of the shows here from the Conversation Project, where we give you newsy stuff all week long, all the time, literally, as our feeds are always active every 50 minutes, giving you information and news to digest. And you tell us which stories are more interactive, more conversational, and we let you know which ones they are daily in the show we call the things you might not have heard. And on this weekly roundup, 12 stories from the week to remind you of what happened in the last 7 days. Things that basically caught my bigger attention and basically caught your big attention going forward. This covers last week, which went from Friday, the 27th of September, to Friday, October the 5th of 2024. All these stories are talked about in the Daily Show, things you might not have heard, that podcast there. We'll explain how the feeds work in a little bit and how we actually get all the stories in the Daily Show and what we pick for here. But remind you right now about our website. This is a conversationproject.com, our home for all things Conversation Project, and our email address, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Check out the website to find out more things about why we do what we do here, and check out the email address. Email us with any comments you have. Remind you that our weekend shows are all sponsored by Ground News. More from our sponsor in a bit as well. But right now, let's get into the news stories. 12 headlines from the past week, 12 big things that happened, and you can kind of think about where you were and what mindset you were in there. No particular order of the stories, but we will give you some context and some updates if they've been updated as well. We will cover, of course, guys that are in this picture here of Pete Rose, Hoda Kotb, and John Amos, which is a very sad story, which gets past to it. We're sad to lose him, but the way things went down are extremely interesting. Let's put it like that. As we said, the weekly roundup for the week ending October the 5th, 2024. Let's get into the headlines right now. Story number one, Vance Walz vice presidential debate ends with both candidates touting a new future. In the recent vice presidential debate between Republican Senator J.D. Vance, Democratic Governor Tim Walz, both candidates focused on proposing visions for a new future for America, essentially something different. Kamala Harris is something very new going forward because she is a new person in the headlines. Donald Trump brings something new as opposed to something that was new 4 years ago, but bringing it back so it's new again because Biden stuff messed things up essentially. The tone was actually cordial and was a pretty nice debate. It's how debates probably should go if you're having a debate with your candidate and you're being cordial and there's no real nasty emotions in between each other. It was good. The problem was Tim Walz was kind of and JD Vance looked smooth, still lied a lot. But he wasn't rude about it, which is what happened. Vance emphasized conservative values such as economic growth and border security. Walz highlighted progressive policies centered on health care and climate change. They avoided direct personal attacks. They actually a lot of times said, "I agree with you. I feel for you." Governor Walz says that he was had his son was involved in an incident that was stressful, and Vance was like, "Wow, I feel for your son," and realized that going back and forth. And the visions for the future thing is the real theme of the night. Now, this is going to be the last debate for most chances for anybody in the race. Doesn't look like Harris and Trump will get another debate in going forward. So this is the last chance to see the two sides really compare back and forth. There'll be town halls, there'll be interviews, things like that. But we're going to find out fairly soon, literally within about 30 days, who's going to win this thing within a week or so after that, and how the future of America and the future of the world, if you will be managed. Story number two this morning. Caitlin Clark wins WNBA Rookie of the Year after historic debut with the Fever. The Indiana Fever's guard named Caitlin Clark, former Iowa standout, has been named the 2024 Rookie of the Year for the WNBA, getting 66 out of 67 votes. One vote going to Angel Reese, keeping it from being unanimous. She averaged 19.2 points per league in the league best for the rookies and 8.4 assists per game, setting multiple records for the WNBA rookies and all time in general. Her remarkable performance not only elevated the Fever, but boosted the league's attendance as well. And this something really showed something out that really made a difference. We had two stories for Caitlin Clark this week. The first story was the fact that her team got bounced from the playoffs late last weekend. And when that happened, the ratings went down. In fact, a lot of people basically gave up on the debate last week to go watch WNBA playoff basketball. So people were paying attention to basketball then, but with the Fever out, the eyeballs that were on Caitlin Clark are now gone. That's a bad thing, or not a great thing right now. But we'll see how the overall engagement for the WNBA continues throughout the season next season, what happens for women's basketball in college this year, and of course the new 3-on-3 league for the women, which debuts sometime in a few weeks to give the women a chance to play here in the States for more money. A lot of people are not seeing that as being a good thing. Caitlin Clark is not doing any basketball over this offseason, so we'll see if eyeballs for women's basketball starts to drain, and will they come back in the summer when the actual league gets back into play. Sticking with sports for a second and sticking with one of the passings from this last week, we had the sad case of announcing, I think, 8 different people passing. 4 passed over the weekend and had them into the Monday show, and then 3 passed the next day. And then we had another person pass that with John Amos, which we'll talk about again, which is a very interesting case. This is not about Pete Rose's passing, but the records he passed and why they still don't matter, as Pete Rose is still not going to go into the Hall of Fame. The Major League Baseball says his ban is not a lifetime ban, as we kind of said it. It is a permanent ban. He's all-time hits leader and has plenty of other records in the books that aren't really in the books because of a permanent ban, of course. Instituted in 1989 after investigator revealed that he bet on games, including those involving his own teams at the time, which is extremely taboo. It's like the one cardinal sin in baseball. Cheating is seen as like you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. But cheating, or maybe cheating for the sake of winning games for your team and betting, that's seen as pretty bad. So while we often call it a lifetime ban, it's not really lifetime. It's actually officially a permanent ban, which means he can't get in, period. Now, there are a lot of people who are ineligible for stuff permanently, including Shoeless Joe Jackson, because it's not a lifetime, it's forever. Many people are pushing to go ahead and do this for Pete Rose because the irony is they put him in the Hall of Fame. They put an asterisk there because it's questionable. But since Pete Rose is dead, he doesn't actually know he's in the Hall of Fame. So he doesn't get a chance to basically celebrate that thing. That would be the punishment, is he gets in Hall of Fame, but he doesn't get to know about it. However, the rules say permanent until they actually change that. It's going to be unlikely Pete Rose will ever make his actual name in the official record books, asterisk or not. One of my favorite country artists is dealing with the issues that many other artists in TV and music are doing right now. We'll get to a Diddy update in a bit, but this is one that just came out of nowhere, at least from the standpoint of the fans. And now we're dealing with the repercussions. Now we're going to the back and forth and some back end stories and things happening. Garth Brooks is being sued by a makeup artist for alleged rape and sexual assault. Country music star Garth Brooks sued by an unnamed makeup artist who's being referred to as Jane Roe in a lawsuit, accusing him of rape and sexual assault. The details are salacious. They are pretty damning if they are true. So look up the stories, read the stories for those full details. We can't do them here because one, can't do them justice. We're trying to stay away from those E ratings in our videos. The lawsuit was filed last Thursday and alleges that multiple incidents on sexual misconduct while the women worked for Brooks over a period of years. Plaintiff claims that she was assaulted while serving as a hair and makeup artist many times, and Brooks has responded to allegations, category denying them and stating that the claims are false. The lawsuit is baseless and saying basically it's extortion. Significant media attention as it unfolds in court. We will see this thing play out. Other things are falling into place as interesting tidbits of life are now becoming pieces that may be a tragedy. Garth Brooks and his wife Trisha Yearwood sold a big house a couple months prior to finding out the whole lawsuit was going down. Other things being shifted around, things about the way they're managing tours and music and things like that have been happening. That just seems like curiosity things that may have more to do with the underlyings of life and the lawsuit than we may know. We will find out more as the suit progresses. This week in Arkansas, significant news for a 29-year-old case that now brings some, not quite justice, but maybe some closure to the family. A suspect was ID'd in the disappearance of Morgan Nick, who was a 6-year-old girl at the time who vanished in Arkansas back in 1995. DNA evidence found in Bill Jack Links, a now deceased inmate, makes him the prime suspect in the 1995 disappearance of Morgan Nick. She was abducted from a ballpark in Alma, Arkansas at the age of 6 on June 9th, 1995. Links has been a person of interest in the case, was previously convicted of some other crimes against children, and I believe he actually died in prison. But a recent advancements in DNA found his truck that he owned 3 owners prior and found DNA evidence in the truck, or 3 owners past. It's been shifted about 3 or 4 times. So he doesn't own the truck. It's been in various different hands. Found cases of hair, I believe, that belonged to Morgan Nick by DNA. With that makes him the prime suspect, not just a person of interest. And so while they can't actually get justice for the guy because he's already passed, they can have a question basically answering this one. They can assume that it was this man. It was actually Lynx that actually did the crime. The family now has some sort of relief. Arkansas, who's literally been dealing with this case for 30 years, and if the Morgan Nick Alerts was named after the young lady, has a way to finally breathe a sigh of relief and get some good news out of this very tragic situation. Closure is great, and now we have something of that case for this particular case. Hoda's not done with you yet. We get news about her actual leaving of Today's Show and not leaving NBC. Hoda decided to leave today specifically because she was asked to cut her salary by $2 million per a report. The departure from Today's Show is because basically they asked Hoda to take a salary cut, and she said no. She signed her contract, she took the cut, and decided to go do other things at NBC. And NBC, needing a big name, decided, okay, we'll keep you as a cost-cutting measures to keep you do other things, but you won't do today. Or she says she's not doing today, and that's what's happening there. So she is no longer on the morning show doing that thing, at least for a bit. She's still there for a while, but when she leaves, she'll go off to other things to fill other slots that need to be filled. Now, this is essentially bad news for everyone, because what it tells you is they're not paying premiums for people to be on the morning shows, the money makers of the television news programs. Whatever your platform is, that's why you see all this turmoil in morning news. That's why it was such a big deal when Don Lemon flamed out on the CNN morning show, because they were in 3rd place. They might have been in 4th or 5th place behind some of the other fringer channels, and they weren't doing well. Now what they're doing right now is basically just what we're doing. I like it. They've extended the CNN, the early morning show, which is essentially a longer version of all panels, if you will, and updated news. And they extended the show they were doing before that for News Central, where it's just people walking around doing quick news hits, and I like that as well. But they've given up on the morning show format, which most folks have given up on there. Now, for the network shows, it is ABC as number 1 with their show with Good Morning America with Robin and George and Michael. NBC is at number 2. I'm not sure how distant they are, but number 2 going forward. And number 3, trailing on the network, is CBS with Gail and the gang there. And there's not much they can do on that end. It's just what it is. But as the second place show, NBC wanted to save a little money to try to tool some things. That money was going to not go to Coda. Go to Coda, and Coda said, Hoda said, that money that's coming to me, I'm going to go do something else. She's doing something else. We'll find out within months what something else will actually be. Take a quick moment inside of this. 6 more stories to go from the past week that you guys said were extremely conversational, and I picked out as things that really mattered in the week. But first, I want to give you a chance to help us out. We need more people engaged in the conversations, and we need you to help us do that. You are in the conversations. You're watching this video. You're watching our clips. You're checking out our feeds on Facebook and X and Threads and giving us the stories to talk about. So help more people talk about things and see the fruits of our labor, if you will. Like the video we have here, like other things we produce here for our conversation stuff, whether you're watching it on whatever feed you're watching on. We're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. That's where our videos are. We're in various places with postings as well. So like what you're seeing out there, specifically this video here, so people know what they're getting is a quality news update from the past week. Share it with folks that you know could love it and may not be seeing it and will, enjoy what they're getting. We do our best to do conversational stories. We'll explain all that stuff at the end of how conversational stories work, how they work for you and us. But if you share it with people who are like-minded, they will most likely share, like, and subscribe as well. And we have more people in the conversation to help us have better conversations. And subscribe. If someone shared this with you, or you just stumbled all the time on this because your algorithm said this was cool and you watched it, Make sure you don't miss out on these things. Hit notifications so it gives you a notification when we're out there. But if you subscribe and you're always checking those feeds, checking those algorithms, checking those things for updates, you'll see what's going on. You don't have to watch them all, but we need your subscription to see more people in the queue. We need more people. We do need more people watching things, but we need your subscription so we don't miss to you. Also, go to our website, thisistheconversationproject.com, and subscribe to our newsletter so you do not miss out on a chance of seeing all these things in print. It's not really print anymore. So you can see these things in pixels and get direct links to all the stories you do for the daily show and for this weekend update as well. Back to the news. Back to the guy in Texas who paid $4,000 for an autographed Taylor Swift guitar and then took a hammer to it immediately. It went viral. People went nuts. People was like, wow, that guy's got some issues. That's a MAGA guy all the way. Either I love him or I hate him. The plot thickens. The guitar, which was fashioned like Taylor Swift's in theme by Taylor Swift's latest tour, was not actually signed by Taylor Swift. It's not a signed, it's not an autographed guitar. It's just a guitar that is themed by Taylor Swift. Now, this was just a fundraiser for the county in Texas, and they put it out there, and this guy bought it, paid a whole lot of money for it, and went to town with it with the hammer immediately, going viral with that one. He says he is Donald Trump all the way, MAGA, 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 and wanted to put out take out some of his frustration on the Taylor Swift endorsement of Kamala Harris, which is fine. The theme went fine. The theme went viral. That's all great. That's all fine and dandy. The biggest thing was we were led to believe, or the guitar was believed to be autographed by Swift, and then we found out that it was not. Were we duped? Probably. But hey, we got 2 days of stories out of this one, and the internet got another chance to not talk about war in Gaza or economy or, well, I guess we did talk about the election because it's about Taylor Swift, but we didn't get to talk about other stuff going forward. There's a lot of bad things going on that we could be talking about. Luckily, this took us away from that one. Well, until we got to this one. Trump resorted to crimes to stay in office after 2020 loss. Jack Smith's team says this one gets interesting. I'm going to read the rundown from the robot editor that edited from the news articles, and then talk about the deeper details on why many people think this is the wrong thing to do. Federal prosecutors led by special counsel Jack Smith have revealed in an unsealed court filing that former President Donald Trump resorted to crimes, that's a quote, in an attempt to remain in power following his defeat in the 2020 election. The filing accuses Trump of acting as a private candidate, not in his capacity as president, while attempting to overturn the election results. Smith's team argues that Trump's actions were part of a broader effort to subvert the will of the voters and undermine the democratic process. Trump has denied all charges, continues to claim the 2020 election was stolen. Now, here's where it gets interesting. October surprises happening in October, and this is an October surprise that makes us remember going back 8 years ago when one man named Comey, who was running something called the FBI, reopened the case that was essentially an August surprise on a candidate running for president, that being a lady named Clinton, not the guy named Clinton, a lady named Clinton, on some emails and server things in Benghazi and some other stuff. Now, the details of that whole thing are not as important as the fact of what happened. There is a rule, apparently not even unofficial, apparently it's on the books, that Department of Justice specifically, and many of the actual agencies that deal with justice, aren't supposed to do anything that's supposed to interfere with elections, aren't supposed to do anything that's supposed to sway ideas going forward, unless, like he's like actually going to kill somebody. He's actually has a plot to shoot someone tomorrow. Then you let it go. You let it be. You don't let someone get something in their head that they may sway an idea. Jack Smith is not going to be able to try this case before the election. And it was pretty much that was what was known months ago. And so he's trying in the court of public opinion, because if Donald Trump wins, the case goes away. If Donald Trump loses, he probably will lose the case because they'll call it election tampering. But at this point, Jack Smith, who has a pretty high level of wins, but also a bit of a shady record on how he gets things done, even though he gets things done, is basically putting all his cards up ahead of time and saying he's going to win this thing in public opinion if it's not going to go to court. Doesn't really matter. This should destroy Trump's reputation. However, nothing so far has destroyed Trump's reputation. And for people who are down with Trump, they're just saying it's more tampering of stuff going on. They need to leave him alone. People who are against Trump say, oh yeah, hell yeah, it's right. He's doing bad stuff. Yes, it's bad. But it's not going to really matter because it's not going to swing any undecided voters, because undecided voters, for some reason, already know about this. Well, they know about this because reasons are they've been talking about it. But for some reason, that doesn't matter. That's not going to swing things. We'll see what happens in public opinion and in private practice, and if this lawsuit even becomes anything of a suit. I keep bringing up Oasis, and they're probably much more important, much more interesting stories to bring about, but I keep bringing them up so I can also continue to say that this tour is not going to happen in the summer. However, if it does happen and they do come to North America, Oasis is ditching Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing for its North American tour. They've announced this, they're not using Ticketmaster and a dynamic pricing system for the upcoming tour in 2025 in North America. That link. Dynamic pricing, which adjusts ticket prices based on demand, has been a point of contention for many fans due to inflated costs. Fans stated that the decision was made to avoid creating an, quote, unacceptable experience for their fans, unquote, that one. Met with positive reactions, though there are now concerns about the potential for the rise of fake tickets as a result of this pricing change. So one thing Ticketmaster does, one thing those types of people do, is they have pretty good security on who gets their wares, who gets their tickets, who gets what. So that's great. They're still absolute garbage to company to deal with. That is, well, it's reality. So Oasis is going to do the best they can because they had the issues with their first batch of tickets being sold for the tours overseas, their opening of the tours. And now if they're going to go to North America, they're going to avoid Ticketmaster altogether. We'll see who they go with, how it happens. And here's the kicker: if the tour even goes on. My money's still on a not. The dock workers union suspend their strike until January 15th to allow time to negotiate a new contract. The dock workers union, that represents about 45,000 U.S. workers from east to the Gulf Coast ports, agreed to suspend their strike on January 15th until January 15th, 2025. Apologies for that one. The strike was 3 days old at the time, but this decision to go back to work and suspend the strike, not end the strike, allows the negotiators to come up with new deals. Now, they'll have time to work on that because essentially it was an asking for the dock workers to go back to work with all the issues dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, and some of these docks need to be cleaned up so that things be opened up, and the crazy hoarding of toilet paper. That's happening again. Now, what initially is going down is a 77% raise over 6 years. That's happening essentially right now. But while they're suspending the negotiations, suspending the strike, they'll work on some other terms in the contract to make them better. That contract expired on September 30th. And so the 3-day strike, which so far didn't really ripple except for in our minds and in our hearts, no actual dealings with anything really being backed up yet. There will be a little bit of delay for some things that need to be unpacked now. Now they're unpacking things. But at this point in time, you should see no actual serious blips of what's happening, except for how long it takes to replenish toilet paper in your local Walmarts and Targets, because humans. The story around Sean Combs gets worse. This headline came in this week as we actually had, I believe, 2 new accusers specifically of sexual assault. A lawyer had a press conference where he actually said Sean Combs is accused of abusing 120 people in total, over 120 people in total, 25 of them listed as minors at the time. This happened between 1991 and 2023, so over a span of 30 years of time that Sean Combs has been in the business and in charge of things. He has been abusing people sexually and otherwise in various cases. And the thing about 25 being listed as minors at the time is what's really, really, really disturbing. They're brought forth by a Texas lawyer and his firm who claims that sexual assault, abuse, and exploitation has been happening all this time. Among accusations are horrifying: the claim that he assaulted a 9-year-old boy. This is not sexual assault. This is basic battery as far as we can tell. Allegations were made public during the press conference, drawing attention to the shocking nature and scope of the abuse. Combs' legal team denies the allegations, but the lawsuit represents a serious challenge for the embattled music mogul. Things are getting worse in the world of Sean Diddy Puffy Combs. And our 12th story for today, One of the many people we lost over the past week. We lost Maggie Smith, of course, losing the John Black from Laser Lives, Pete Rose, of course, as well. Many big names, many famous people, many people that we grew to love for all the great contributions to stage, screen, music, things like that. We lost John Amos, who's the actor from Roots and Good Times and other great things as well. The West Wing, Mary Tyler Moore as well. Pioneering actor dying at the age of 84. The rest of the story, the kicker to this, is the fact that we heard about this in October. He actually passed away on August 21st. Natural causes. His career illustrious, listing many things, as we said. Kunta Kinte in the older version in Roots, James Evans Sr. in Good Times, playing roles in the West Wing. The last member of the Mary Tyler Moore Show to have now finally passed, fostering a lot of publicity and a lot of big talk in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, moving to the 90s and 2000s for other things. But the biggest issue is his death. And now the stories are getting even weirder, where essentially we're told that he actually asked for a delay into the release of his death for a while. His daughter came out pretty early when we heard his death last week that she didn't know he had died in February, in August. She didn't know that he was already passed. She thought it was kind of crass that it took them 6 weeks for her to know, and she had to find out in the news to find out that apparently he had asked for this to be done. He did not want her to make this a spectacle, and the state was like, "Yeah, let's let the state work itself out, and let's let this be done when everything is done." It's a sad case of family affairs, a sad case of celebrity family affairs. It's a sad case of all. We get a chance to finally mourn John Amos, but the situation and details around his passing are what makes this extremely sad. Even sadder than losing him, sad in what's going on now. Of course, he had to deal with some allegations of elder abuse, things like that, which his daughter is kind of wrapped up in, which is probably why we're hearing these stories. What's true is true. What's real is real. We will find some resolution. Somehow we will find some resolution in what's going on. But for now, we're just going to give the flowers. We're just going to give our respect to the career and our love and positive vibes for the passing of John Amos. Let's talk about, unfortunately, money. But this is also talking about news and also talking about us and also talking about how we all together work together to make things happen. Our sponsor for the weekly roundup is Ground News. Ground News is a very special sponsor because it is a news platform, and news platforms need money to survive. There's a point where I'm going to ask you to help sponsor us in a bit. But one of our main sponsors that we always use the weekend to really project is Ground News. Ground News offers up news to you that is the same news you get every place else. But what it adds to the fact is it gives you updates on where it's coming from and some of the whys it's being covered. Ground News gives you a scale on each and every news story that's out there. They present on where it's being presented and the leanings of the organizations that produce it. So a Newsmax is extremely red and a MSNBC extremely blue, for liberal to conservative, for Democrat to Republican, if you will. And things that are more in the middle, although you may disagree, things like the AP and Reuters, the wire services that are more or less just repeating the story and give you something to write off of, get more of a white, a neutral version. So all stories get a grade, or grades, if you will, on how they're being covered and who's covering them. One of the biggest things, the best things about Ground News is they have a blind side platform, a blind side feature where you can look and see some stories that are very, very lopsided in their coverage, essentially all blue or all red, or in some cases, nobody's covering it. And those are some interesting ones there as well. But you can see if a story is not in your echo chamber, you can see what stories you're missing, or if a story is really, really being hit, you can see why it seems like it's being overdone for you, but not being talked to by other folks. You can see what things you're getting way too much of and some things you get nothing of with that feature. And Ground News can give you all this great news for less than $10 a month. In fact, for $1 a month, you get a lot of stuff there. But for $10 a month, or less than $10, you get a lot of great insights, a lot of great research, actual research, a lot of great insights to who's covering what. So check it out today. by using our link for the affiliate sponsor. That is going to our website. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. Check it out today. Ground News is going to offer you the best news out there. It's the same news everyone gets. It's aggregated like other places, but their aggregation also tells you everyone that gets the news, not just one source or one story. It's various headlines, various features, various places, and how it's being reported, how it's being covered, and Ground News will help you in that manner. We use Ground News to check a lot of the stories you use here. Sometimes we just pick some stories and say, this sounds weird. We're doing it anyway, and we'll see what happens. But some things that are really salacious, or some things that we're getting a whole lot of super conservative or super liberal sort of headlines on in our aggregators, we go to Ground News and see how other people are covering them to see if they're being covered and get them to you out there as well. So you can use this for your own personal use to check out what news stories are valid or invalid based on how you believe by going to our website. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. We get a small commission for you getting Ground News and adding the app and getting subscription, but check it out today. Start using Ground News and get your news with more of a sense of reality as opposed to just salaciousness. That's what they offer up. The Conversation Project lives online at This is a Conversation Project. What we like for you to do is to stop by our website. Stop by our website and learn more about us and what's going on. We will explain in just a minute about the feeds, more importantly, but the feeds are where we get your input for our shows. We post articles, we post headlines, post links on Facebook, on X, and on Threads. And if you follow us on our feeds, you can engage in those stories and tell us how things go. Facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project. X.com/TH_conversation. Every 50 minutes or so, we post news headlines, news articles for you to engage in. The higher engagement score it gets, that's either you liking it, you commenting on it, you sharing it, however you want to engage in it. We get the numbers, we pull them up, we take top halves, and you can go from there. Monday, we'll give you 10 stories in our daily show called Things You Might Not Have Heard. 10 stories from over 90 stories in a weekend. We take the top 30 and put from those. For Tuesday through Friday, we take 8 stories from the top 15 of the day, about 30 in a day, and give you those to present. And then here in the weekend, we take 12 of the stories from what's presented throughout the week, and we give them here as with updates and sort of a recap of how the week that was really was, to kind of understand how that works out. If you enjoy what we're doing here or daily, we ask you to stop by our website and check out more things we have there. Subscribe to our wares, if you will. Consider being a partner. We'll talk about that in a moment. Consider going to more sponsors on our sponsors page as well. And just email us, conversationinbox@gmail.com. Let us know what we're doing well and not so well as we work on all those things going forward. And going forward, first, we're going to talk about our partnership page, our partnership program, how you can help us directly fund and work with us here at the Conversation Project. Our partnership platform is called Buy Me a Coffee. BuyMeACoffee.com/J Cleveland Payne is where you can be a partner for the Conversation Project. We have various tiers. Here we have a listing of some of our sponsors right now. The Cup of Coffee level sponsor is Harold Braxton, Colby Green, and Eldon Kidd. That's a $5 a month subscription and literally $1 a month spare change listed with Joy Winters. You can help us do what we do for whatever you feel we are worthy of. We will take what we have and we will use your money as good stewards. That money so far has been used to upgrade significantly a bunch of equipment in the last couple of weeks to do more things, find more time to do other things, and to find ways to pay other help to do some things. If you will continue to help us as partners or more sponsorships, we'll have more money in our kitty to help pay for other things, more equipment, more time, which is what we're looking for, and more people to assist on a regular basis. Because I don't want people to kind of feel like they're being used to do stuff. I'm doing this for free, but they need to get compensated for their time. So consider being a partner by going to our website, clicking the partnerships link, or go to buymeacoffee.com/J Cleveland Payne and pick your tier today. There's also at the partnerships link links for various other ways to partner up with us or for one-time donations. You can do that through Buy Me a Coffee. You can also use PayPal. You can also use Venmo. You can also use Cash App for one-time donations. Just say what it's for, and we'll use it there. And it'll go into the kitty, and we'll use it for great things. We had a one-time donation from someone this week that we are very thankful for, and she got a very thankful think back, call back to her directly. But for the main partners, this is where they get their love. You give me a monthly donation, whatever it is you believe you can give to us, we'll go from there. If you don't believe that we are quite there yet, or you don't believe in giving into stuff like that, you're one of those guys. There's a less than 5% of people that are in your actual feed as subscribers, as regular list viewers, are going to partner up. That's the reality. Follow the feeds and email us with comments, because those are the most important things that can be done. Now, let's really detail that, because we're going to discuss that now. The Conversation Project lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com. We already said that part. That is our online home. Our email address is theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Email us your thoughts, your concerns, anything you want to. We take all emails in consideration, read them all, and we consider them all, even the ones that are just sort of spammy, trashy ones. We do that for everything. In addition, we need to update the feed list, because we need to put threads on here, because we do check threads. But threads, so far, not really setting the world on fire. Definitely not with any stats, but with the real engagement that we get in other places. However, Facebook and X still very active. Facebook.com/thisisconversationproject and X.com/th_conversation, where you can follow us, and every 50 minutes or so see what new headlines are coming into our feeds for you to engage in. Engage in the feeds. Engage in the feeds, and the stories that get the most engagement, as we say, will get the best responses to us, and we'll pick and choose the ones we think make the most impact and make the best story of the day. If you don't think we're picking the right ones, or you don't know what's in the feeds, and you think, hey, did you cover this one right here, or you looked and didn't see it, comment to us in email or in the videos or in wherever you can get to us, and we will do our best to look for more of those stories and pick more of those stories for there. This is not just a straight up newscast. This is literally a conversation. You're telling what stories people should be talking about. We repeat them back for the group, for the masses. And that is all. That's how we do it for the weekly roundup for the week ending October the 5th, 2024. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. I'm thanking you so much for being a part of the family that is the Conversation Project and the larger More Better Media family. Make sure you're following us on our feeds. Consider being a partner. Check out the website and email us whenever things are down, I guess. We are going to provide this for you every single week with just a wrap up of stories that we do all week long. And of course, the main bread and butter is giving you what you really need for the day stuff as things progress, the daily shows, Monday through Friday, with things you might not have heard. And also things you might ought to know, which is we used to do a longer show that offered up birthdays of the day, this day in history, and also a celebration. If you like that, or you didn't know we did that, check out this channel feed and you'll see it popping up in your feed, and you just subscribe to that as well. Like, share, and subscribe if you would, to help us grow our presence here on the net, on the web, and get more stuff. The more people in the queue, the more people I can talk about and tell folks are listening and watching, the less I have to ask for donations, and less I have to ask for sponsorships, less I have to ask for joining the affiliates. That is how that works. With that, we are done. We are taking a wrap. We are moving on from the day. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Love you. Mean it. Let's get out of here for a great weekend, making our way for another great week to come.